Hi, hi. Hi, Alvin. Yeah, it's time. Uh, this is our 21st Hangout, I think. And you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, I think today is going to be a pretty short one, maybe. Still have a lot kind of finishing up for Leaf. But yeah, this is our first Hangout since Leaf 4 went live. So that's good. That's actually pretty cool. Um, yeah. If you haven't already checked it out, I put out a little video for kind of like all of the stuff new. Not all of them, but just a few things I hadn't really talked about for Leaf MVC 4. Yeah, so you can check that out later, probably after this. But yeah, thanks for joining. Alvin, yeah, thanks for joining. Okay, so today's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to talk about what's next for Leaf 4. That's what we're doing. If you haven't already checked it out, please do go to leafphp.dev. That's localhost. Go to leafphp.dev and everything you need for Leaf is over here. Documentation has been updated again. We have the Learn section of the Leaf documentation, and then a bunch of new things. I noticed we hadn't really documented scaffolding and all of that stuff. So that's also done. It's a Leaf MVC only feature. Yeah. And then there are a few more scaffolds also going to be popping up very soon. Oh, hi, Kunile. Yeah, nice to have you. Yeah, I don't know what was up. Some of the previous hangouts were kind of like private streams. I don't know how that happened, but yeah. So that's probably why there's a first time you're getting a notification. Um. Anyway, welcome. Nice to have you. Um, yeah. So as I was saying, we have scaffold documentation for scaffolds now. And then there'll be a few more coming soon. So we have like a coming soon scaffold. So you could type this out and then wait list. So it would set up the usual stuff, controllers, views, schema files, but then we also add middleware and then stuff like that. Yeah, so we have a few of them popping up pretty soon. So this isn't all of them. Um, yeah. So coming up, this will probably be next week or 2 weeks from now. So that'll be pretty soon. But then we'll also have Leave Zero, which I've been kind of postponing because, as I mentioned, I wanted to make sure it worked for pretty much all view engines Leaf supports. So React, Vue, Svelte, Blade, and all of that stuff. So I've kind of been working on that. Parts of it are done. So we have icons for Blade. It was kind of annoying getting icons to work for Blade without pulling in some extra library, CSS, JavaScript, that kind of stuff. So I've been working on a little wrapper for hero icons. So you could just kind of copy the name and then use them with a Blade directive like this. Um, yeah, we'll probably have better components, but Leaf Blade doesn't support everything Laravel Blade supports. So there's a little disconnect there. Yeah, but this should be working well pretty soon. So I'll be rolling that out. It's currently not live. I'm still finalizing the documentation for it, and then a few other things. So everything here is going to have React Vue, Svelte, and Blade versions. Um, Icons are Blade only because with React Vue, Svelte, you could probably just pull in Hero icons or Lucid or another icon library. So that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, there would also be a few things like page sections, components. The really cool thing is you can always just use something else. Like with React View Civil, you can always just pull in ShadCN or another components library. But then what makes this a bit different is this would have, they'll be kind of like plug and play. So they would come with some PHP code, your view, the view part of your code and all of that stuff. So you could just plug them in and they would work right away. I've not yet done these, but basically this is what it will look like. So that's how it's a bit different from what you would usually get with ShadCN or some other UI kit. So it's not exactly a UI kit because it comes with a little bit of your controller code and all of that. Yeah. So that's also hopefully coming in to Leaf next week or in 2 weeks, but definitely before the end of the month. So Leaf 0 and then a few more scaffolds, which I talked about earlier. Yeah, the Leaf MVC scaffold, and we'll have a few more. Yeah, and then a few, I think, on Sunday. So you can actually now use this in your project without worrying about API changes and all of those stuff. So that's actually pretty cool. That's really cool. So yeah, some of the leaf scaffolds from here would actually include views for mailing and stuff like that. So that's another good thing to note. And then the setup process is pretty much just like any other Leaf module. So you just Leaf install Redis or Leaf install Q, and then Leaf will set everything up for you. And for the most part, you can configure it using your EMV. But then if you need any specific or specialized config, you could just do this. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kunle. For the scaffold feature, yes. I noticed a lot of things. They just made sense to be scaffold. Um, some of those were supposed to be in paper plane. Paper plane was supposed to be our starter kit. But then I noticed some things in paper plane where um, they were base features. I think that didn't have them like straightforward. So some of those have been revised. That's how come scaffolds are getting more features now. Leaf 4 has also gotten a lot more features, and almost all of them are from paper plane. So that's a good thing. In a sense, you could say pretty much all of them are from paper plane. Okay. Okay. So this is a little paper, which I haven't worked on in quite a bit. Yeah, but then basically paper plane was supposed to include everything you need to build a SaaS. So you have things like billing, mailers, queues, jobs, like all of those stuff. And yeah, it just made more sense to push all of them back into Leaf. So those are in Leaf now. Paper plane would have a different set of features, which make more sense because, as I said, I don't want to have people paying for things that should not be paid for, basically. So you should be able to build a full application with Leaf, and it should be easy, should be straightforward, simple, clean, and it should not be a starter kit. Yeah, if that makes any sense. Okay. So besides the scaffolds and besides Leaf Zero, another thing coming to Leaf pretty soon is Leaf billing. So this was something you would probably recognize from Paper Plane. Um, there was this little billing library that I added for Paper Plane. The whole idea is it gives you a unified API for working with payments providers like Paystack, Lemon Squeezy, Stripe. I think Stripe and Paystack have kind of been implemented. There's still a bit of work left to do there. But then the basic idea is this. So you'll be able to pass in your API keys and all of those stuff. And what you need to really worry about is the billing tiers. So you could set up billing tiers like this, like subscriptions for maybe monthly subscriptions, yearly subscriptions, or one-time payments, whatever you choose. You could have discounts. Um, you could have trial periods. Okay, so that's also there. You could have all of those stuff basically all set up here, and basically Leaf would take care of all of that. So yeah, so you would just set up this, and then so I'm actually trying to remember how this works because I built it for pure plane and didn't really go back to it. Um, if I remember right, there should be something about billing or pricing. Okay, so let's go with grid with groups. Yeah, basically. So then you'd have you'd install maybe something like Leaf install Stripe. I think that module is actually live, but then I doubt it's actually usable because I didn't finish building the full implementation of it. Yeah, so you could Leaf install Stripe, and then you automatically have access to this billing thing here. So you could get all your groups like monthly or yearly. So Leaf automatically sort all of that stuff out based on what you set up here. So in this case, there is a monthly subscription, there's a yearly subscription, same for here. So Leaf, if you just call billing groups, it will sort of sort all of that stuff out. So that's kind of the idea here. And this is a bit messy. But anyway, let me just run this and hopefully it still works. Okay, so cool. Right. Da, 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 da. Okay, so this is what you get. So you have I think we set up this. So we have $100. I think the pricing is using USD. Yeah. So you could actually set up currencies and all of that stuff right over here. Um, and yeah, so there's our monthly pricing, 100 USD and then 200 USD. And then for yearly pricing, you have 1,000, you have 2,000. So all of that over here. So what we saw up here with the billing groups, that's the stuff here. So Leaf sorts that out for you. So you could click on them to show the monthly or yearly pricing, stuff like that. And then you could call, I think, billing payments link or something like that. I don't really remember how that works, but it has been a while. There should be a button somewhere though. Um, wait, where is that? What does it say? Buy now. Let me just search for buy now. Okay, weird. All right, it's right here. Wait, no, this is a different button. Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, so you basically just call tier the link, and then tiers comes from where we had our billing groups. I think this API might need a little bit more refinement, but basically, for every item, Leaf gives you a link, so you could just click on that link, and then Leaf would basically take care of it. So I guess a more refined version of this is going to be coming back into Leaf pretty soon. So it currently supports, or it will support Stripe, as you just saw. So that was Stripe. The version you saw here was Stripe, but then it also supports Paystack, and I do not remember how you switch between them. Um, yeah, but basically, with whatever you call, um, Leaf would actually set all of this stuff up for you. So you basically don't even need to do anything. On Stripe, on Paystack, you basically just enter your API keys and everything will be taken care of for you. That's the idea. So yeah, those are the three main things that I'm sort of putting together. Um, the scaffolding, the leave billing, and then leave zero. Yeah. So those three things, I'm hoping to get them out by the end of the month because I don't know. They just seem like pretty nice things that would help you build faster. Um, and that's all I'm hoping for in Leaf 4. Okay, so that's kind of like a little roadmap, at least for March. Yeah, for some of these things were supposed to be out already. Like Zero was supposed to be out long ago, but then I had to restructure for React, Vue, Svelte. Um, and that's another thing you might have noticed. This version of Leaf MVC has like first class inertia support. So building with inertia is extremely easy in this version. Might be too easy because I think I've probably been focusing on inertia more than Blade, which is not exactly a good thing because I think Blade is still more popular. More people use Leaf MVC with Blade than with inertia. Yeah, but then anyway, it's still good to know you can do anything here if you want to. And then the documentation has also been updated. So you have passing data into views through a route or through a response, example of how to access the data using different view engines and all of that stuff. So there's been a lot more updates to the inertia documentation, to the Tailwind documentation. There's like basic theming, and then if you need more, you can visit the Tailwind docs. Um, yeah, Vite hasn't really been updated, but then there's not really anything to do here. Leave MVC doesn't come with it out of the box. I think that's the only major difference in version 4. But most people don't use it anyway unless they want to use Tailwind or Inertia or anything. But if you need to set it up, you can just use one command. So doesn't really change anything. Okay. Um, yeah. So I think those are that's what's lined up for March. Those three things. Getting the billing library out. So you'll be able to leaf install Stride, leaf install Paystack. Um, and then scaffold. So there will be more scaffolds. And I think when the billing library is done, we'll have more scaffolds for billing. So you'll be able to scaffold stuff like what we saw in here. And we'll probably have a much better API here. I don't think this is a good enough API. It uses a combination of all of the stuff Blade gives you, plus some things Alpine gives you, um, which is all right, but I don't think this is actually that good. I don't think it's a good enough API. So this will have a few changes, but um, you'll probably be able to scaffold everything anyway. So yeah, so that's what you can expect for March. Um, yeah, the documentation is still being updated. I think every time I notice something off, I just rewrite a few things. So this week I focused mostly on the front end documentation, so that's been updated. But then if you guys have anything you run into that might need some work, just let me know and I'll look into it. Yeah. So Q's jobs, I already mentioned this, but they are stable now. And as promised, Q's also now supports Redis. So I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about how we only supported the database. Wait, bad internet? Oh my. Hold on. Oh, yikes. I'm sorry. I hope that fixes itself. Um, yeah, I really hope that fixes itself. Yeah, actually, it's terrible. Okay, but looks like it might be getting better. Sorry about that. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, so yeah, about 2 weeks ago, probably even last week, I talked about how Q's only supported databases. But yeah, this is a stable version and it has support for both databases and Redis. And then you can switch between them over here. So you can use your EMV. You just set a Q connection equals Redis, and That's pretty much it. So it's pretty much that simple to switch between Redis and your database. There'll probably be support for um, actually, I think you can even do this yourself. But yeah, there might have to be like a built-in support for running different queues, like you being able to pass in what kind of queue you want to run with a command. Um, yeah, so we'll probably look into that. Yeah, would actually have to look into that. But anyway, this is pretty stable right now. You could dispatch jobs like this. You could pass um, data into your jobs like that. And jobs are stateless, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Um, yeah, they are stateless, so you always have to give it some kind of context to work with. Yeah, so in case you have stuff like emails and stuff like that, um, just always keep your user context around. So you could just pass it in like this, and when the job is being called, Leaf would fill all of that information in. You also have options you could pass in, some of them like delay, the number of retries, and all of these. Some of these are still experimental, like memory. I don't think memory would probably work right. So please just keep those in mind. I think I was supposed to deactivate the memory option. Yeah, because that's experimental. Okay. So yeah, I guess I have worked on pretty much everything I could think of for the documentation. But again, if you have anything you think I missed, just let me know and I'll take care of it. I think some things to be highlighted better. Like I still get questions about um, roles permissions. Those are here, and they're actually no longer in beta. I should probably take that off. And then some user stuff like user verification. People actually do not know that user verification is a part of Leaf now. So it's built in. You don't have to look to a different library or build it yourself. You can generate user verification tokens, send them to an email, stuff like this. And then verify the token. And then there's also middleware for if the user is verified, or the verified, or not verified. All of those stuff are built into Leaf. So you don't have to, like build them yourself. Um, yeah, I actually haven't made any videos on this stuff. So I probably would and probably should. But yeah, okay. So auth user purchases, these are like auth user model stuff. I think I've already talked about this on one of the previous streams. Um, yeah, so you could use leafdb directly on your user object like this, query other tables, and it uses the leafdb syntax, so you don't have to learn anything new if you already use leafdb. But if you use like the Leaf MVC models, then the syntax is slightly different. Um, yeah. Okay. Query builder. I think the query builder had a new feature, but I think I have actually talked about this on one of the previous streams. Data relationships. So you could fetch something from your users table, but then add if it has a relationship with like a post table, you could get all of that data using with, and then it works both ways. So parents, children, doesn't really matter. You could also just use with. Yeah, I think I've already talked about that. Yeah. Oh, tutorial has also been updated. So it uses the latest version of everything. So version 4 of all modules. So that's pretty cool. So if you're pretty new to Leaf, you can check out this tutorial. It's just something to give you an idea of how different things in Leaf work, like responses, requests, um, database stuff, user login, user registration. Yeah, it's just something basic, but it's enough to get you started. And then from here, you could always just go back to the documentation to clear things out. If you're from a different framework like Laravel, you'll probably find this pretty familiar because it's also an MVC framework. If you're using Leaf MVC, Leaf runs on MVC, so you have your controllers, models, views, all of that stuff. And then there's also a little thing to get you started. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. And then the final thing is our API reference. I have also gotten a lot of questions about what um, functions, because not everything is as documented as I would like it to be. But now you have your API reference for like different things. Um, so you could always just click into them and then find out if you want to, if you want to. But I think the vast majority of things are now documented. Um, yeah, a lot of things are documented, at least as far as I remember. But yeah, the API reference is there for you just in case you want to go to the different kinds of classes and functions in Leaf. Yeah, that's there for you to v3.leafphp.dev. Um, we still have quite a lot of v3 downloads. But yeah, I guess from those numbers, I guess migration was as easy as I thought it would be. I haven't had any questions or complaints about migration yet, so that's actually really cool. Um, yeah, okay, yeah. So that's Leaf MVC 4. I will be releasing bytes stuff on any paper plane purchases, and the website will be down for a little bit. So please keep that in mind. Um, and this is just to keep you updated with what's going to happen next in Leaf 4. The vast majority of updates and Discord